The lights went out at exactly 2:17 in the afternoon. At first, I assumed it was another summer storm. Then I noticed something strange. Every house across the street still had power. The air conditioners were running. Garage doors opened normally. Children were watching television through living room windows. Only my house had gone dark. I walked outside and looked toward the utility pole. A power company truck was pulling away from the curb. I waved my arms. The driver stopped. He rolled down his window. "Can I help you?" "My power just went out." He checked the address on his work tablet. "Yes, sir." "We disconnected service." I stared at him. "Why?" He frowned. "The work order says service termination was requested by the Property Management Authority." "What Property Management Authority?" "The Homeowners Association." I actually laughed. "Our HOA can't order the electric company to disconnect my house." The technician looked uncomfortable. "I can only complete the work order I receive." I held up my phone. "I've paid every electric bill." "I believe you." "Then reconnect it." He shook his head. "I can't. Not until the order is cleared." I watched the truck disappear around the corner. At that moment, I had no idea that the paperwork authorizing the shutoff contained 3 serious problems. The signature wasn't legitimate, the cited violation didn't exist, and the person who submitted it had no legal authority to request utility disconnection in the first place. 48 hours later, a state investigator would be standing inside our HOA office asking one simple question: "Who approved this?" Nobody had a good answer. My name is Grant Holloway. I'm 45 years old, an electrical engineer, a Navy veteran, and the kind of homeowner who keeps copies of everything. Every utility bill, every HOA letter, every email, every inspection report. My wife jokes that I could probably document what I had for breakfast 10 years ago. She's probably right. That habit would end up saving us. My wife, Melissa, teaches 5th grade at the local elementary school. We have a 14-year-old son named Owen. Like many teenagers, Owen's bedroom contains enough electronics to power a small office, computers, gaming consoles, school equipment. One thing most people didn't know was that Owen also depended on refrigerated medication for a chronic medical condition. Missing power for several hours wasn't just inconvenient. It could become a serious problem. 3 months earlier, we moved into Willow Creek Estates. The neighborhood looked perfect. Quiet streets, large trees, friendly neighbors, reasonable HOA fees. At least that's what we thought. During our first month, everything went smoothly. Then the violation letters started. The first claimed our mailbox color wasn't approved. The second said our trash can had been visible from the street. The third accused us of parking overnight on community property. That one was especially interesting, because our truck had never left our driveway. Each time, I politely responded with photographs and timestamps. Each violation quietly disappeared. No apology, no explanation. Just silence. Melissa joked that whoever handled compliance didn't like being corrected. I laughed. I think someone just clicks random addresses. I wish that had been true. One Saturday morning, I finally met the HOA president. Her name was Denise Caldwell. She introduced herself while I was trimming hedges. "I've noticed you've challenged several violation notices." "I've corrected factual errors." She smiled politely. "The board works very hard." "I don't doubt that." "It would help if homeowners cooperated." "I always cooperate." I pointed toward my folder. "I simply ask for evidence." Her smile faded slightly. "You seem very interested in technicalities." "I'm interested in accuracy." She folded her arms. "Sometimes community standards require flexibility." "I agree, but facts still matter." That conversation lasted less than 5 minutes. Something about it felt strange, like she wasn't interested in solving problems, only ending discussions. 2 weeks later, another letter arrived. Final notice. According to the HOA, I had installed an unauthorized backup generator. Failure to remove it within 72 hours could result in additional enforcement. The problem? I didn't own a generator, not even a portable one. I walked around my property twice just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. Nothing. No generator, no fuel tank, no electrical transfer switch. I emailed the HOA requesting photographs. No response. I requested an inspection. No response. Instead, another certified letter arrived. Violation confirmed. Fine. $500. I attended the next board meeting. Could someone show me where this generator supposedly exists? Denise looked down at her paperwork. Our inspector confirmed it. I'd like to meet the inspector. That's unnecessary. I'd also like the inspection photographs. They're unavailable. Several homeowners exchanged curious glances. I remained calm. So I'm being fined based on evidence no one can produce? Denise answered, the board has already voted. I wasn't asking about the vote. I was asking about the evidence. She moved on to the next agenda item. The meeting ended. Several neighbors approached afterward. One quietly whispered, "You're not the first." Another nodded. "They've done this before." "What do you mean?" "I received a violation for an above-ground pool." He laughed bitterly. "I've never owned a pool." An elderly woman added, "They cited me for peeling paint." My house is brick. I began documenting everything, every conversation, every letter, every meeting. Then something unexpected happened. Tom, one of the newer board members, knocked on my door one evening. "I probably shouldn't be here. Come in." He looked nervous. "I wanted you to know." He lowered his voice. "Not everyone on the board agrees with Denise." "What do you mean?" "Some of us have questioned the violation process. And?" "She says challenging inspectors weakens HOA authority." I nodded slowly. Tom continued, "I've never actually met the inspector." That caught my attention. "You've never met him?" "No." "Has anyone?" "I honestly don't know." The next morning, I submitted a formal records request asking for inspection reports, photographs, contracts, and invoices related to the alleged generator inspection. State law required the HOA to provide many of those documents. 5 business days passed. Nothing. Then 10. Instead of records, I received another violation notice. This one claimed I had ignored the previous enforcement action. 3 days later, our electricity was disconnected. Standing in my dark kitchen, I called the utility company. After verifying my identity, the customer service representative sounded confused. "Mr. Holloway." "Yes?" "Your account is fully paid." "So why was my power disconnected?" She hesitated. "The request came through an authorized property management submission." "Authorized by whom?" She read the file. "Willow Creek Homeowners Association." "I need a copy of that request." "We can provide it. Please email it immediately." 15 minutes later, it arrived. I opened the PDF, read the first page, then read it again. My wife looked over my shoulder. "What is it?" I pointed to the signature line. "That's not right." "What?" "The name on this authorization," I zoomed in, "belongs to someone who resigned from the HOA board almost 2 years ago." Melissa looked at me. "So who signed it?" "I don't know. But whoever did," I slowly closed the laptop. Just created a much bigger problem than a fake generator violation. Because if someone had submitted official utility paperwork using another person's authority, this wasn't simply an HOA dispute anymore. It could involve forged documents. And before the week was over, state regulators, utility investigators, and the HOA's own insurance attorneys would all want to know exactly how our power had been disconnected in the first place. The email from the electric company arrived at 3:08 p.m. I downloaded the attached work order and opened it on my laptop. The more I read, the worse it became. The form listed my address correctly. It listed my utility account number correctly. But the authorization section contained the electronic signature of Mark Benson, a former HOA secretary. There was only one problem. Mark had resigned from the HOA board almost 2 years earlier. I knew because his resignation letter was included in the HOA meeting minutes that I had downloaded months before. Melissa looked at me. So someone used his name? It certainly looks that way. I immediately called the utility company's compliance department. Within 30 minutes, a supervisor named Angela Pierce returned my call. Mr. Holloway, we've reviewed your account. And? Something about this request concerns us. What exactly? She paused. The authorization appears to have come through a property management portal reserved for verified community representatives. So only authorized people can submit requests? Correct. Who had access? I can't answer that yet. But we're opening an internal review. I appreciated her honesty. She added one more sentence before ending the call. We're temporarily flagging every request submitted by Willow Creek HOA until this matter is resolved. That got my attention. Apparently, I wasn't the only homeowner they were concerned about. The following morning, 2 utility investigators arrived at our house. Not technicians, investigators. They introduced themselves, photographed the electric meter, reviewed the work order, and asked detailed questions. One investigator finally looked at me and said, "Mr. Holloway, have you ever authorized the HOA to manage your electric service?" "Never." "Have you signed any document granting that authority?" "No." He nodded while writing notes. "That's important." Meanwhile, Melissa packed Owen's refrigerated medication into insulated medical coolers filled with fresh ice. Thankfully, our neighbors across the street had offered refrigerator space until everything was resolved. That simple act of kindness reminded us that one difficult HOA president didn't represent an entire neighborhood. Later that afternoon, I received an unexpected phone call. "Grant?" Speaking. "This is Mark Benson, the same former HOA secretary whose name appeared on the utility paperwork." "I heard what happened." "So did I. I want you to know," his voice became firm, "I didn't sign anything. I believe you. I haven't had access to HOA records in almost 2 years. Would you be willing to say that in writing?" "I already have." That surprised me. I sent the board an email this morning. What did it say? That someone appears to be using my name without authorization. Within hours, the HOA board scheduled an emergency executive session, not a regular meeting, an emergency one. That alone told me they understood how serious the situation had become. The next day, Tom, the newer board member, called again. His voice sounded tense. "You were right." "About what?" "There are problems." "What kind?" "We asked Denise to produce the inspection report." "And?" "She couldn't." "What about the generator photographs?" "None." "The inspector's notes?" "None." I remained silent. Tom continued. "Then someone asked for the inspection company's contract." "What happened?" "There isn't one." I leaned back in my chair. "So, who inspected my property?" Another long pause. "We honestly don't know." That single sentence changed everything, because now the questions extended far beyond one fake generator. Who was issuing violations? Who verified them? Who approved them? And where had the evidence gone? The board hired an independent HOA attorney to conduct an internal review. Within 3 days, she requested every enforcement file from the previous 4 years. The results shocked everyone. Dozens of violation files were incomplete. Several lacked inspection reports. Some contained photographs that didn't match the listed property addresses. Others had identical pictures attached to multiple homeowners. One backyard photograph had apparently been used 3 different times, for 3 different houses. The attorney quietly remarked, "I've never seen record keeping like this." Neither had anyone else. Then came another discovery. The utility company completed its preliminary audit. Angela Pierce called me personally. "Mr. Holloway?" "Yes." "We've confirmed your account should never have been disconnected." "I suspected that." Our review also found procedural irregularities. What does that mean? She chose her words carefully. We're referring this matter to our legal and regulatory compliance teams. Because of the signature? I can't discuss every detail. But yes, there are concerns regarding authorization. The utility company restored our power that same afternoon. No reconnection fee, no paperwork, no delay. Before leaving, the crew chief shook my hand. I've been doing this job 22 years. I've never seen a disconnect request handled like yours. As word spread through Willow Creek Estates, more homeowners started checking old violation notices. The stories became impossible to ignore. One family discovered they had paid over $2,000 in questionable fines. A retired couple found citations for landscaping violations that had been corrected before the inspection dates listed on the notices. Another homeowner produced security camera footage showing that no inspector had ever visited on the day an alleged inspection supposedly occurred. The neighborhood Facebook group exploded with questions. Residents demanded answers. The board demanded records. Denise remained unusually quiet. Then, on Friday afternoon, every homeowner received an email. Special community meeting attendance. Strongly recommended by 7 o'clock that evening, the clubhouse parking lot was completely full. More than 100 residents packed inside. Additional chairs had to be brought in. The atmosphere felt nothing like previous meetings. This time, the homeowners weren't there to argue with each other. They wanted facts. Denise walked to the podium carrying several folders. She appeared calm. But I noticed something. The independent attorney hired by the board wasn't sitting beside her. Instead, she was sitting with the rest of the board, not the president. That couldn't be a good sign. The meeting began. Routine business lasted less than 2 minutes. Then Tom stood. I move that we suspend regular business and hear the attorney's investigation. The motion passed unanimously. The attorney rose from her chair carrying a thick report. She adjusted the microphone, looked around the packed room, and said the one sentence Denise clearly wasn't expecting anyone to hear. My investigation found evidence suggesting that several enforcement actions may have been initiated without proper documentation, and one utility disconnection request appears to have been submitted without verified board authorization. The room fell completely silent, because everyone immediately realized this was no longer just about a fake HOA violation. It was about whether official documents had been used improperly. And before the night was over, the entire future of Willow Creek Estates and Denise's position as HOA president would hang on what the attorney revealed next. The clubhouse was so crowded that people stood in the hallways. Late arrivals watched through the windows. No one wanted to miss what was about to happen. For years, Willow Creek Estates had accepted violation letters without asking too many questions. Tonight was different. The independent attorney placed a thick report on the podium. She looked around the room before speaking. My responsibility is to present facts, not opinions. She opened the report. During the past 2 weeks, my office reviewed more than 400 HOA enforcement files. The projector behind her displayed charts, violation notices, inspection records, board approvals, fine collections. Almost immediately, patterns appeared. Many enforcement files were complete and properly documented. Others were not. Several lacked inspection reports. Some contained photographs that could not be matched to the listed property. A number of notices referenced outdated rule numbers. The attorney continued. These findings do not mean every violation issued by the association was improper. She paused. They do mean the record-keeping and approval process requires immediate correction. The room remained silent. Then she addressed my case. The investigation found no evidence that Mr. Holloway installed an unauthorized backup generator. She displayed aerial photographs of my property, inspection requests, architectural approvals, electrical permits. Everything confirmed the same conclusion. There had never been a generator. Several homeowners shook their heads in disbelief. Then came the issue everyone had been waiting for: the utility disconnection. The attorney held up the authorization form. This document was submitted through the association's management process. She looked toward the board. My investigation found no board vote authorizing this request. Another page appeared. No meeting minutes reference it. Another page. No legal opinion recommended it. Then she delivered the sentence that changed the meeting, and the signature appearing on the request belonged to a former board officer who confirmed he neither signed nor authorized the document. The room erupted. People started talking all at once. The vice president struck the gavel repeatedly. Please, everyone, let's maintain order. After several moments, the room quieted again. The attorney continued. I am not making criminal conclusions. That authority belongs to the appropriate agencies. My responsibility is limited to determining whether association procedures were followed. They were not. A homeowner stood. So, who submitted the paperwork? The attorney answered honestly. My investigation could not conclusively determine who physically transmitted the request. Another resident asked, could the HOA legally disconnect someone's electricity over a violation? No, she answered immediately. The governing documents grant no such authority. The room became very quiet. Denise finally stood. I'd like to respond. The board agreed. She walked slowly to the microphone. I never intended for anyone to lose electricity. She looked toward me. I believed I was protecting community standards, I answered calmly. Community standards don't override utility service. She nodded. I understand that now. Tom, the newer board member, stood next. I've served on this board for 18 months. I trusted our internal processes. I shouldn't have. He looked around the room. We all share responsibility for not asking enough questions. Several board members quietly agreed. The vice president requested a short recess. When everyone returned 20 minutes later, each director had a printed resolution in front of them. The vice president read it aloud. Based upon the independent investigation, the board adopts the following actions. First, all pending violation notices requiring additional documentation are suspended. Applause filled the room. Second, every enforcement action from the previous 3 years will undergo independent review. More applause. Third, the association will reimburse homeowners for any fines determined to have been issued without sufficient supporting documentation. Homeowners looked at one another in disbelief. The fourth announcement was the biggest. Effective immediately, Denise Caldwell has resigned as president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. The room became silent. Denise slowly stood. She looked tired, not angry, just tired. I honestly believed strict enforcement protected property values. She looked around the room. Somewhere along the way, I stopped listening. She turned toward me and Melissa. I'm sorry. Melissa smiled politely. Thank you. Denise gathered her folders and quietly walked out of the clubhouse. No one applauded. No one celebrated. Most people simply reflected on how easily authority can drift away from accountability. The next several months brought enormous changes. The utility company completed its review. It formally acknowledged that our service should never have been disconnected and implemented additional verification procedures for requests involving third-party property managers. The HOA adopted new governance policies. Every inspection required date-stamped photographs. Every violation required documented review. Every homeowner gained electronic access to meeting minutes, enforcement policies, and financial records. Transparency replaced assumptions. One Saturday afternoon, the neighborhood organized a volunteer barbecue. Not because of a holiday, simply because people wanted to reconnect after months of tension. Children played basketball. Neighbors shared food. People who had barely spoken before were suddenly introducing themselves. Tom walked over carrying 2 hamburgers. I owe you one. You don't owe me anything. He laughed. If you hadn't questioned that generator notice, we might never have discovered any of this. Across the park, Melissa was talking with several teachers who also lived in the neighborhood. Owen played catch with kids from 3 different streets. It finally felt like the community we had hoped to join. A few weeks later, I received a letter from the HOA. Not another violation notice. A handwritten note. It simply read, "Thank you for insisting on facts instead of assumptions." There was no signature. It didn't need one. Because the lesson belonged to everyone. Power isn't measured by how many warning letters someone sends. Leadership isn't about winning every argument. And rules only earn respect when they're applied fairly, consistently, and with evidence. Sometimes the strongest thing a homeowner can do isn't raise their voice. It's keep good records, ask reasonable questions, stay calm, and let the facts speak louder than the accusations. In the end, the HOA didn't pick the wrong house because I argued. They picked the wrong house because they underestimated the value of documentation, patience, and accountability. Those things don't make headlines, but they do change outcomes. And in Willow Creek Estates, they changed an entire neighborhood for the better. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful HOA stories, neighborhood drama, justice-served endings, and unforgettable community conflicts every week. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next story. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.